Everybody matters.
Everybody matters.
You're not less than because you're an usher. I know some ushers that can hug you and take you down in the Holy Ghost.
Yes.
But to make them, just because you're not the pastor or a preacher or a bishop, everybody matters. The parking lot attendant, the usher, woman getting your water, the nurse, the missionary, the mothers in Zion. Everybody want a mic. Everybody wants to be on the pulpit. Those lights are hot.
Those lights.
And it costs a lot to sit in that middle seat.
Yes.
But everybody matters. And when everybody plays their part, we can put together a good church.
Welcome to the Pastor Chira Show. I'm Pastor Chira, and today we launch. We launch into new territory. We launch into new mindset. We launch into new relationship. Are you ready to launch out? Come on and launch out with me as we go into this conversation on today. And I'm excited because this conversation only happens but once each quarter. And he's not here enough for me. I'm just saying he's not here enough for me because there is a wealth of information. There is a wealth of knowledge. There is a wealth of conversation that we can have just sitting and talking about things concerning denominations. And we have our segment called Denominationally Speaking. And who am I speaking of? I am speaking about none other than the Pastor Frederick Pompey. Hey! And look, everyone, he's here in the studio. He's here. Yes, I'm excited. Can you tell I'm excited? I'm so excited. You made it.
Thank God.
I'm so glad that you were here in studio with us today.
Oh, look at this. It's fancy now. Oh, look at this.
It's been a long time. I think the last time we were all here was when we did that combination with Biblical Feasts and Celebrations and Denomination Speaking together.
What's your favorite co-host?
Yes. With Elder Craft and my favorite. Nah, why would you say that he's my... Everyone is my favorite co-host. All of you have what you see how we do. You see how this is going. See?
I'm gonna go with that.
Listen, everyone's my favorite. I love each of you for what you do and what you offer because you bring so much to the Pastor Chira Show and what you do and what you offer. But guess what?
1220 is coming.
Yes, 1220 is coming. It's coming fast too.
I'm waiting on it.
It's coming fast. It's coming fast. But listen, there may be someone who's watching who hasn't heard of you yet and doesn't know who you are. Can you just introduce yourself to the viewing audience?
I am grateful for the opportunity to sit here with Pastor Chira. I am Frederick Allen Pompey Jr., the senior pastor of New Calvary Baptist Church right here in Philadelphia, 2431 North 5th Street. You can find me on social media. Instagram is Pompey1220, and it's my name it's F. Allen Pompey on Facebook. But I am just a young black man about a good work in the community of Kensington, trying to seek the lost and serve those who are less fortunate.
You got a whole tagline? Yeah. You better come on with the tagline. Listen. But that's what, you know what? That's what we have to have today. Yeah. And it's so funny because, we were talking about it and how church and ministry has changed so much to where we really didn't have those things coming up in our day. It was just the church name, and we were a missionary Baptist church, or we were, whatever we were, that's what we did. But now we have to identify ourselves through taglines and not just our denominations. How has that affected you pastoring in this new age church?
Working on my master's in divinity, we are taking this class called, what is it called? Exegeting the city. He said, don't exegete just the text. Work your city and the party city you're in. And it made me look at the Badlands or the 19133 where I pastor. And I realized that they don't need media. They don't need flyers. They don't need marketing strategies. They need love. And the old church just loved people. We didn't go out with undercover membership recruiting or they just love people. And so exegeting my part of the city made me see that I'm spending $400 a quarter on flyers and a waste of money.
Yeah.
So I am no slight to the graphic designers. We love you.
Yes.
But
we love you, graphic designers.
We thank God for you. But
we still have need of you.
We still have need of you. But my birthday's coming. Birthday flyers. But I realized that they're not looking for media. They're looking for hashtags. They're looking for catchy lines. They just really want Jesus.
That's it.
And so it has changed. At one point in time, the first 10 years of my pastorate, I'll be 14 years old this year. The first 10 years of my pastorate, I really focused heavy on what my brand was and who I was and my size and the kind of color and bringing my church down to 3 colors. And we had to be, we had to have a brand. And then I think about the 12th year, I realized that Jesus is the brand.
Jesus is the brand.
Jesus is the brand.
Right. And you know what? Because I was told the same thing. Like, there are these things that we have to do. You have to brand your ministry. You have to brand. And I honestly, I thought about it and I was like, well, how did they brand the old church? They didn't. They just did the work of the Lord that they were told to do.
The old church had red chairs, green chairs, blue chairs, purple carpet, half kitchen. But their ministries were effective. They did more with less.
Can you say that again?
They did more with less. This new church has everything. We have all kinds of instruments, drum cages, ceiling mics. We got lights and strobe lights, and we are less effective with all the resources that we have. But the old church, nobody got paid.
No.
They came to church, they served, and they did what they did with less income, because back then it was one income per household.
Yes, it was.
And they still made it work. But somehow
exceedingly and abundantly.
They did it, honey. They had 7 to 9 kids and raising grandkids and dealing with the crack epidemic, and they still had successful ministries that turned into our now new day mega churches. Right. But they were storefront churches that turned into, but we have to look at just that now these people, it's important for optics and, backgrounds, and we have this new virtual age, thank God for that. But in person, we have to be personable in person.
But you know what? And I think not just being personable in person, we have to find a way to be personable even virtually, to make people or to have people want to come and be in person, because there is something that you get even through the online streams that we have that is appealing.
So I don't want to get in trouble.
Come on.
I know that the online option is there. If you are on medication or on a heart monitor or strapped to a chair and can't make it to the house of God with CT Connect or whatever that is, then you go to the online option. But there is something about the saints gathering together in one place on one accord. It's something about it. So I know that we've traded convenience for power. We want to be convenient, so we're not getting the same results because we're getting convenience. And I tell the kids at my job that the convenience store is charging you $1 more for the convenience.
Or more.
You can go to the market, but gotta get up, put your clothes on, get dressed, get in the car, fight traffic, but you're gonna get it $4 cheaper.
Yes, you are.
But the convenience store, because it's a convenience, you're gonna pay for it.
Yes.
And I think the church has paid for our convenience with our character.
Ooh. Yes.
It is not the same anymore. And so we find ourselves looking for gimmicks and games, and we're looking to be, I know people who you look at their online church or the online presentation, you would swear they had a mega church somewhere. And you walk in, you be like, whoa, this it?
This all?
It's 2 rows? This is it? And so we got to be careful that we don't put on a face or a facade or a persona that when people come in person, we can't maintain.
Right.
Yeah.
And how do you, so that's a great thing, because even in growing and doing what we do, we're showing and we're doing what we got to do in order to have that in-person presence. But then what do you do when those that come and they're like, but I thought it was more. I thought there was more here than, because is that deception or is it perception of what you are getting?
I think for me, it depends on the intention of the person displaying. If you want to attract me so you can build the work, that's one thing. When you get here, because your church is what you make it.
It is.
So, but you're intentionally entrapping me to think that, for whatever reason, what they call clickbait, that this is happening here, then that's something different.
Right.
But I pastor what they could consider a storefront church.
Me too.
Pastoring a storefront. No, you pastor a big church and you have a big building. I pastor literally a storefront church. And I just come to the point where I'm not ashamed of pastoring the storefront church. Because I understand that it's not about popularity.
No.
It's not about people. It's about the product.
Right.
And a lot of these churches aren't producing prepared people. I like to let the P in my last name Pompey. They're not producing prepared people.
Right.
And so what are you preparing them for, Pompey, when they go to work or when they get home? That abusive wife, those crazy kids, those high bills, you're not prepared to handle these things, because the devil used to wait till you got home from church on Sunday to act up. Now he gonna catch you with a text message in the middle of service.
In the middle.
With what's going on at home.
Right.
Get home now.
Right.
And so, but when you go to a church, and not that, let me just make this clear, that only storefront churches prepare you for life, because there's some bigger churches who do prepare you.
Yes, there are.
But when you are being prepared, you can shake the attack off and keep worshiping God.
Yes.
You'll keep coming to church. You'll keep doing whatever needs to be. You'll still tithe. You'll still give. You'll still serve because your pastor is preparing you for the things that are coming your way.
Yes.
And I think this new church does a poor job. It's not always going to be sunshine and rose petals and lollipops. There are some days that the devil is going to give you his best shot.
His best. Oh, and he come with it.
Yeah.
And he comes with it. And so we're going to go to a commercial break. We're going to a commercial. But on the other side, I really want to dig into how these things that we're talking about now affect us denominationally. Do we see that there are differences in how we're bringing in and what we're doing in order to grow not only our ministries and our churches, but our communities?
Yeah.
Right? And how we're affecting our communities. Is there a difference? And are you seeing that the impact is different denominationally, which is why there are those that are growing faster than others? So we're going to go to a commercial, and on the other side, we will talk about just that. Do you have a song or a single that's coming out soon? Be our Artist of the Month. Contact us at the Pastor Chira Show so that you can be heard worldwide. Your music counts. Your ministry counts. We want you to be seen and heard because you have a sound like no other. Be the Artist of the Month for the Pastor Chira Show. Contact us at thepastorchirashow.com and let us know that you have something that's coming out. You have a concert that's coming up. You have a project that's being produced. Be with us as the Artist of the Month for the Pastor Chira Show. I'm looking forward to it. See you soon. We're back, and I hope you're ready for more of this conversation with none other than Pastor Pompey as we dig into these kingdom concerns that we have in our churches. Concerns. Do you have concerns?
I do.
We have concerns. We're concerned. Are you concerned about church and the kingdom and the buildings and how we are developing in this time, not only in where we are, but just the different denominations and how we're seeing things are transpiring so differently in where we are, but then outside as well? What are you seeing as far as the growth of ministries in general in the kingdom?
So I think there's a difference between growth and infection.
Oh my.
Both causes things to swell and get bigger. Growth happens slow and over time. Mm-hmm. Infection is immediate. And it will cause things to almost burst at its seams. And I think a lot of these churches are infected with people who are mad at their last pastor, their family church, they've been church hurt for whatever, or they think they church hurt for whatever reason,
right? And
they're leaving church A to go to church C, and because you're jealous of me or you don't respect my gift. And so now you have an influx of people where they think the pastor is weaker, or the pastor needs them, or the pastor has baited them to come over here. And so now it looks, and I have to be very careful when I look at other churches and see their growth and not get intimidated by what they're doing, because I understand now that some things aren't growth, it's infection. And after a while, when it busts open, you're going to need more help trying to heal. And a lot of times you're looking at now, these churches are swelling, and I'm not mad at anybody.
No.
They're swelling and they're not growing, because if you left your last church, I'm old school, and you don't got a letter, maybe email nowadays, then you can't come here.
Right.
You come sit down. Well, we got the town I got to talk to. If they leave Mount Vernon and come to New Calvary, I'm say go back home. That's our sister church. Y'all go. You might sit here for a Sunday or two, but take your tail back home.
Right.
But if you leave one church and come here, I need to know why you left and how did you leave.
Yep.
And so I think that when people are just hungry for people, pastors are hungry for people, then we run into an influx of swelling churches, not necessarily growing churches.
And we can't. Pastors are hungry for people.
Yeah.
Because, and is it a hunger for people in order to help them, like you were saying earlier, to grow and to learn and to be prepared, right? Because you were talking about those being prepared for the things that are to come. But are they just hungry? Because I'm not putting myself in that category, because I'm not hungry for people. But I'm here to do the work and to do what God has called me to do, in order to, like you said, prepare those for the things of life, because, God has given me purpose living ministries. We have to have purpose in our living, but we have to know our purpose in our living as well. And so it's a preparation point that we all have to do in our purpose living. And so how, with those that are hungry for people, so that they can show numbers and not necessarily effectiveness.
Numbers have become our benchmark, and we've taken numbers over his name. And when you get to a place where numbers mean more than his name, there's a problem.
Yes.
And so, but to take the hat off and be honest, as a senior pastor of a church, people will look at you and they will size you up
They do.
by the amount of members
That
that
you
you
have.
have.
Yes.
And so Pastor said, that's how you going to score my card. That's what I'm going after. But I have learned in 14 years of pastoral ministry and 38 years of being in church.
Yes.
I have learned that it's definitely quality over quantity.
It is.
I'd
Yes.
rather have a few good people
Yes.
doing a big work
Yes.
than a big work and no people, and a bunch of people and little work. And I think a problem is we stop being concerned about his name.
Yeah.
And so I remember, like, there's a church here in Philadelphia, and the sanctuary sign says it's our time, but it's for God's glory.
That's it.
But I think when people stop thinking about that, or stop thinking about
I
God,
think that sign is down now.
oh well, it was there at one point in time. When I was growing up, it was there.
It was there when I was there too.
Yeah,
It was there.
But when we had that mindset
Yes.
of it's our time,
It is our
but it's
time.
for God's glory.
Everything
and
for God's glory.
We don't think that anymore, and
Yeah.
so the concern becomes numbers versus names,
Mm-hmm.
and then people get stuck on who attended church.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, how can we get more people?
Right.
Not serving them, not helping them, but how can we pack this house?
Right.
And I was discussing earlier with another pastor. Somehow pastors have turned churches into franchises, like Rita's. You want
Not
to
like Rita's.
Rita's. You want to put a Rita's on every. You want to be a franchise owner, and so instead of filling up your church, the one that God has given you, you got 10 churches with 5 people in each church. You ought to bring them all together.
It might be the same 5 people.
You want to bring them all together. And there's nothing wrong with being an apostle and starting to work, but
Right.
let it be God driven, not you chasing a position.
Right.
Or here's the thing, that you have something to prove, and proving something to people have become a thing.
Yeah.
It's become a thing in church, and the concern becomes that you're trying to prove something. But what about the people?
What about the people?
They have no idea what you're going through, how you feel.
Right.
And so they just come to church.
Right.
But because you got something to prove, you can't tend to their needs, or you don't know what they need, because since you got them, you move on to get 5 more instead of meeting or ministering to that person. And I think that's the problem, again, when we make it name versus numbers.
Because we have kingdom concerns.
Yeah.
We have some serious concerns. And so one of the things that I know the both of us do is it might not even be who's in our pews on a Sunday morning, but it might be who's at the pantry on a Saturday afternoon or a Saturday morning, right? It might not be, who's in the pews on a Sunday morning, but it might be who those children that see us when we pull up in our cars and they come running to get that hug or just to say hi or just to help you take the stuff out of your car. Like, those are the things that are important, because that means that the community knows who we are. They know what we're doing, and they see the worth of our work in order to come and receive what God has given us to give out. And eventually, it does not, like you said earlier, it does not happen overnight. This is not something that ministry is work. It's work. And it takes time, even on our jobs. When you started in the career that you're in right now, you didn't know everything that you know now. It took time for you to learn. It took time for you to grow into certain areas and certain things. It took time for you to know, you know what? That's not my forte, but I really work well over here.
What the church does is not what the world does, because my supervisor on my natural job gave me time. Let me make errors. But the church does not give you time.
They don't give you time.
You've got to be on it at all times, and you got to be the best preacher, the best hooper, the best closer. And so my natural job, I started out in the field with youth as a one-to-one.
And now?
One-to-one. Now I'm going to be the director of an entire department and program, but I still take the things I learned from being a one-to-one and I apply them to the mass amount of children I'm responsible for, because those lessons that I learned brought me to this place.
That's it.
But it took time.
Right.
There were things I did along the way that I shouldn't have done, being a one-to-one with a student, but then I began to grow and understand paperwork and importance. But it took time. It's been over 17 years I've been working with youth. Now at the 17th year, I have the qualifications and the opportunity to serve in this capacity.
That's it.
But I learned things in stages and phases along the way.
That's it.
This church does not have stages and phases. There are very few people. Now there comes a time when God will use a David.
Yes.
Josiah was 8 years old when he became king.
Right.
Great. But for most of us, you got to grow up and you got to grow into this thing and work this thing and understand. But another kingdom concern is there is no contingency plan for the church.
That part.
There is no, I say all the time now, I'm pastor now. I don't want to die in my pulpit.
Right.
So I'm looking at like, who's next?
Right.
How can I help you be next? Because when my time is over, your time is up.
Yep. This was an amazing conversation.
Yes.
We are so out of time. Before we go, can you just tell the viewing audience how they can reach you and how they can be in touch with you again? So
I am the senior pastor of New Calvary Baptist Church here in Philadelphia, 2431 North 5th Street. I'm also the president and CEO of Calvary CDC at the same address. So on social media, for me, it's Pompey1220 on Instagram, and it's F. Allen Pompey on Facebook. For the CDC, it's Calvary CDC Philly on Instagram and Calvary CDC Philly on Facebook. And so you'll find me doing the work, not just having a solution, but being a solution in my neighborhood.
Oh, not just having a solution, but being a solution. And that's what we do. Yeah. We are making sure that we are the solutions that God has created us to be in the places that he has planted us to make a difference. Yep. Listen, this is who we are. This is what we do. Denominationally speaking, we speak from where we are because we want to get to the place that God has for us to go. We don't want to just stay where we are, but we want to go to the next place, to the next level. And we want to learn from one another so that we can be better in all that we do. I'm Pastor Chira. This is the Pastor Chira Show. And I will see you next week. God bless.